For more on this, we turn to our political panel this evening. Dr. Susan Johnson Cook, former ambassador at large for international religious freedom under President Obama. And also with us tonight, Cliff Maloney. He's the president of the Young Americans for Liberty. Great to have both of you with us tonight. Okay, you be the judge, you be the jury.
Sure.
Oh, wait a minute. No, you be the judge and you be the jury. What is this? How do you determine trustworthiness?
Well, you know, I think it's a slippery slope for Facebook because I would disagree with the politicians that are calling for this regulation, you know, that are people that are demanding they get involved. Facebook has to make its own decisions. And I think that's the power of the free market, is that they've created a platform that has brought so many people in and they're interested, and now they've got this pushback and this tremendous political power. So they've got to make a decision. You know, how are they going to limit what people can listen to and what people can see? But I don't think there's any clear answers. I think they've really got to figure it out.
Susan, do you think that this is a slippery slope? Is this the beginning of censorship?
It's the beginning of censorship. And how do you determine and how do you measure it? But I think the politicians who don't know Facebook themselves, many of them don't even use it, have some questions. But I think the other thing is we have to gain the trustworthiness again of Facebook. And so that's going to be the biggest issue. Like, how do you measure someone else's trustworthiness when we don't trust you any longer?
Well, let's take CNN, for example, and James Clapper, who is a documented liar in front of the United States Congress, who said that the NSA was not listening to her conversations. Oh, wait a minute, they were. And now it's unfolding that he was the leaker, and he may be facing some perjury issues. Now, would CNN be viewed as not trustworthy, and they would have to pay a Facebook price for that? And what is the vetting price for all of that? Part of your slippery slope.
Right.
You got an answer for that? I don't think Zuckerberg does.
I think that's the whole point about free speech, is you have to decide, you know, what is allowed and what is not allowed. And I mean, this goes to the whole fake news push, and this goes towards trying to censor certain things over other things. People need to be able to hear an open, free marketplace of ideas, and from that, they need to make those decisions. I don't think Facebook, and like you said, we shouldn't be having this wishy-washy, this is allowed, this isn't allowed. The people have to make those decisions by getting the information.
But there should be free speech, but with accountability. Somebody has to be accountable to the public. And you can't say on one hand, okay, we're telling the truth. Okay, no, we weren't telling the truth. There has to be a system of accountability. And what we're facing in the society as well as the media is just a moral crisis. Who do you believe these days? Who do you believe?
Well, how do we know that politics isn't going to enter into it? I mean, there might be a bunch of people at Facebook that may view the world one way, and they don't like the information that's passed in front of them, and damn it, they're not going to put it out. Well, so who's going to control them or make sure that they're doing their job and not showing favoritism to one candidate or another?
I mean, I think it's a great question. I think politics is in everything. So I think we're going to see some of that, but we can't deny that, you know, free speech needs to happen, but there has to be responsibility and accountability.
I'm not a techie, okay? But I have to log into my bank account. Right. Why can't I log into Facebook so they know exactly what I'm posting is authentic? Is that out of the reach of possibility?
Well, I think it goes back to what we talked about. You know, you see people calling out hate speech, and it's like what you said. Who gets to decide what is hate speech, right? Somebody's got to make that decision. Who's holding those decision makers accountable? And I would argue it can't be the government, but I think you're right. As a good, virtuous society, right, we have to hold each other accountable, and I think people will choose. Do I want to continue to use Facebook, or do they lose the trust of Facebook and go to a different platform?
I get a sense both liberal, conservative, blue, green, whatever, they're not comfortable with any of this.
I'm not comfortable with any of it, not at all. And I think, you know, not only to talk about accountability, it's responsibility as well. And then we have to call people out. I think that's what's happening right now. We're calling Facebook out. We're calling the media out. We're calling everyone who gives us fake anything, fake accountability. We're calling them out. And I think that needs to continue to happen.
Now, Zuckerberg says that he's going to ask his users, well, if this is a worldwide operation, RT's going to score extremely high. Right. And yet, Russian-funded government-type news outlets is independent. No one tells us what to say or how to say it. We don't take a script from Moscow. Are we going to be paying a price because of the funding mechanism? What about CNN taking oil money? Why don't we see more environmental stories on the corporate media in this country? Well, wait a minute. The big corporations, they don't like any of that climate change stuff. So all of a sudden, Zuckerberg is now placing himself in a position that the people did not elect him to be in.
Right.
And they're concerned about democracy? Really?
Well, I think what they're doing
we're
now.
the Rand Pauls of the world.
What they're doing now is they're turning. I mean, let's call it what it is. They're making Facebook a democracy rather than a republic, in that they want the majority to decide what can be said and what can't. So it's an interesting solution. But here's the problem, Ed. How many people are they going to lose? There is still a large portion of folks that use Facebook who are going to disagree with the decisions they make.
It's not freedom anymore.
No, and he's taking the pressure off of himself. Okay, let's be real about it. So he's saying, I'm going to hold you accountable and see if you're authentic, but forget what I just did and blew everybody's privacy.
Dr. Susan Johnson Cook, Cliff Maloney, thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you for
Appreciate it.
having me.